I think she's going to be caught off guard. And I think she'll be hurt by not having somebody she can trust.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball. We're going to be looking back at, quite frankly, an amazing, bizarre, crazy day in the NBA on Tuesday. There were 11 games on. There was big performances. There were stupid performances. There was off-court drama. There was nonsense happening all over the place. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some playoff implications for teams as well and what that might mean for guys resting for Wednesday in terms of your stream value. Michael Bolton, he wants to hear all about it.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it indeed. We will not start with the monstrous line of the night today because I want to start by talking about Magic Johnson, who out of absolutely nowhere decided that he was going to be stepping away from his president of basketball operations position. Didn't tell anybody in the organization, apparently. Rob Pelinka, Luke Walton, and most importantly, did not tell Jeannie Buss. Had a meeting with LeBron apparently yesterday, didn't mention it to him, didn't mention it to Jeannie when he had a meeting with her a couple of days ago, just rocked up to a podium, hey, we're having a press conference and I'm done. Just absolute, the decision to hire Magic Johnson, I have been critical of it from the start. I'm never one of these ones where, hey, let's just hire someone who literally doesn't know what they're doing in the job to run the job, and that was the case with Magic. You can make arguments, oh, you look at that, they picked Kyle Kuzma, that's a great pick, they got LeBron. I don't think having Magic Johnson there really was the sealer for LeBron. LeBron wanted to come to the Lakers, so he came to the Lakers. And Magic being there's a nice story, and them drinking wine and all that sort of stuff is great, but I think LeBron wanted to come to the Lakers, so he came to the Lakers. Really nothing to do with Magic's elaborate pitch. He got them in trouble for tampering with the Paul George scenario. Paul George didn't even give them a meeting in the end. Just poor free agent decision-making, all the reports coming out of him being absentee, not scouting, not being with the team, not making any of these decisions. He was never a good GM, never a good president in the first place, and the way he came out and resigned today was amazing. I don't even know what else to say about this Magic Johnson situation. Basically, what he said was, to paraphrase it, is I don't want to do this job of being the president of the Lakers because I want to spend more time firing out inane tweets of what a good player this guy was. Fantastic performance. That's what he wants to do. And he literally used that as an example. He wasn't able to congratulate Russell Westbrook's 20-20-20 game on Twitter because he was the president of the Lakers. So that's part of the reason why he wants to quit. He was not cut out for the job. He was not happy in the job. And you know what? When someone's not happy in the job, I understand that. I understand not wanting to do it. He should never have been in that job in the first place, but that's water under the bridge now. And quitting the job if you're not happy in it, you're not putting your all into it, that's a decision that should have been made. It should have also been communicated to your boss and discussed and said, look, I don't think I'm giving the full effort here. Maybe we should look to move on. Not like just blindsiding everybody, not only in the organization, but in the basketball world with this sort of decision. Magic Johnson, great basketball player, of course, fantastic. We all love him for that. Great personality. Shit GM, absolutely terrible performance from him today in this press conference and quitting in this role. Who knows what's going to happen? Yeah, he's making statements. Yeah, well, I was going to fire Luke Walton. I didn't want to have to do it. Now I'm not. So it's on Jeannie to make that decision. We don't know what's happening with Luke. Will Rob Pelinka get fired? Absolutely, assuredly he has to. I don't know if he will. I don't know what happens with Walton with the Lakers now. Just a confusing situation all around. And I'm sure Anthony and Pete are going to have tons of information about that on Locked On Lakers. And I'll make sure I'll tune into that after I finish recording this podcast here. But just an astonishing announcement followed by an astonishing series of comments from Magic Johnson, which realistically, you cannot believe that they were the things coming out of the mouth of the president of the most famous basketball team in the entire world. Just astonishing stuff, and it really does, and maybe I'm being too harsh here, but to me, this all encapsulates while the Lakers have been a shit show for years. Just this, where the Lakers, everything will work out without actually putting the work in or making the correct decisions or putting the correct process behind making the correct decisions, because nobody makes the correct decisions every time. We're all well aware of that. But you got to have the right process to get yourself to what you believe is the correct decision. And I do not think the Lakers did that. It's just we're the Lakers, let everybody come to us, peel grapes and feed them to us while we get fanned by giant palms. That's the way it appeared. That's the way it's appeared for years. And this, to me, this press conference, which went 45, 50 minutes, whatever it was, is an encapsulation of the Lakers' attitude over these past 6 or 7 seasons. Really, really poor. Hopefully for Lakers fans, they can turn things around and get things back on track with the right decision making, which starts by making that move to get rid of Pelinka, who by all reports has an absolutely toxic relationship with many people in the league, which is never a good thing. We know all that issues that happened with the Anthony Davis trade, which are obviously, in hindsight, a lot of that's coming from this issue in the Lakers front office. They need to get someone in there who knows what they're doing to really resurrect this franchise. And whether Walton stays or not, I'm not sure. But it's not a fait accompli that he is fired now after this decision by Magic Johnson in that Lakers front office. If you want to keep an eye on your family and your kids and your house the same way that Jeannie Buss should have been keeping an eye on Magic Johnson's office performance, you should be looking at getting the Wyze camera. Wyze is an indoor camera that does it all, packed with premium features allowing you to see everything from anywhere for only $20. 1080p Full HD, images so clear you won't miss a thing, night vision, two-way audio. Wyze will bring you amazing smart home products accessible to everyone. You can connect at any time to the Wyze camera by using the app's live stream on your phone. They have free rolling 14-day cloud storage as well as no subscriptions. So get Wyze, set it up for whatever you want. You want to check on your house, you want to check on you got something on you're going to nick out to the shops because you got something bubbling away on the stove. You got your Wyze camera there. You can set that up and view it through your phone. Whatever it is you want to do, you can do it. And for just $10 more, the Wyze Cam Pan gives you 360-degree coverage in under 3 seconds. Your life moves fast, so your camera should too. So go to wyze.com, that's wyze.com/locked to get yourself the guaranteed lowest price on this great camera. Wyze.com/locked. All right, now let's move into where we usually start the show, and that is
Monstrous Line of the Night.
The monstrous line of the night. It is Andre Drummond of the Detroit Pistons. It makes sense that a guy with a team who is playing for everything is able to put up a big line like this, and Drummo was great. 20 and 17 with Blake Griffin hobbled. 1 assist, 5 steals and 3 blocks on 55% shooting. Yes, the free throws are a negative 8 of 12 from the line, but Drummond, as I mentioned the other day, over the last 2 months has been a top 10 player. And that's not even including punting free throws, which would push him into the top 5, averaging 18 and 17, over 2 steals, almost 2 blocks, 55%. This is a really fantastic level of production from Drummo, and the Pistons need to win out. Now, they need to win this game on Wednesday against the Knicks, and we know how much centers go off against the Knicks. Drummond has another opportunity to go really, really big to actually get the Pistons into the playoffs. Now, they were in danger of losing this game to the Grizzlies today. They fought back, got the victory, kept themselves in prime position for the playoffs, but they still need a victory to lock themselves into the playoffs position. So Drummond really delivering when it matters. His last string of games, let's go back to, I don't even know where to go back to because it's just been double city from him. Now, he did get injured. Hurt his nose on the 18th of January, and since then it has been an absolute masterclass. So I'm just going to go through his points and rebounds. 23-15, 20-13, 24-10, 12-11, 27-12, 17-16, 29-20, 32-17, 21-17, 26-21, 12-14, 12-16, 26-16. You know what? That's too many. There's too many for me to even go through of how big these numbers have been. His last few games have been absolutely astonishing. He has totaled in the last 4 games 14 blocks and 9 steals to go along with a 28 and 19 game, a weird 4 and 9 game, 15 and 23, and then 20 and 17. Enough for me Dutch ruddering Andre Drummond. He has been an absolute monster down the stretch of this season.
Waiver wire line of the night.
His season is over, but a quick recognition for Jamal Crawford as the waiver wire line of the night. He is the deep leaguer of the night as well. Crawford dropped 51 points in 38 minutes with 7 triples, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block. Now, I've been pretty critical of Jamal Crawford last season and this season. I don't think that he really should be getting minutes on an NBA team, but what he's done over the last 2 weeks, he's been a top 10 fantasy guy. 24 points per game with 6 assists on 53% shooting. Now, there's an obvious weird standout there. In this time over the last 6 games, he's playing 32 minutes a night. he is shooting 53% from the field when he shot 39 for the season. He's attempting 5 free throws a game when he attempted 1.7 for the season, and hitting 48% of his threes when he hit 33% all season. So it's really a crazy hot streak to end the season where he's getting this massive, massive usage, 27 usage over the last 6 games as well, with Devin Booker out, with a whole bunch of Suns guys being out. And before you use this run of form and today's 51 points to say, yeah, he needs to be a rotation guy, he needs to be getting these minutes, guy can still ball. I like Jamal Crawford. He's one of the best blokes in the NBA. Love to see him doing it at this age, putting up this sort of production. But in the Suns season finale last season, Alec Peters scored 36 points. So when the opportunity's there in games that mean absolutely jack shit, players can go up, they can jack up shots, and the scores can come. And that's exactly what's happened for Crawford over this last run of games. Now, you've still got to execute it, and his last 3 games, 28, 27, and 51 points, have been excellent. He's got assists, he's getting to the line, he's missed 1 free throw over that time in 20 attempts, which is massive to boost that category, but I still don't think that he should realistically be playing any sort of regular role on any team next season, despite this good performance from him. So Jamal Crawford is your waiver wire line of the night. Your young gun of the night is, of course...
Young gun of the night.
It's Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks in that same game against Jamal Crawford, Dirk's final home game. Doncic had 21, 16, and 11 with 3 steals and 2 triples. Impressively or encouragingly, he hit his free throws, 7 of 8 from the line, still just 43% from the field. But Doncic, that's been something that's really holding him back. But as we can see, over the last 2 weeks, he's the 12th ranked player. Now, it's only been in 3 games, but averaging 22, 12, and 8, which is not that different from the 21, 8, and 6 that he's averaging over the course of the season. A little bit elevated, but 82% from the line versus 71% from the line. If that free throw percentage ticks over and he starts to get 7 attempts a game and 80% plus from the line, then he is that top 20, top 15 guy. Otherwise, he hovers around where he's been this season, 50, top 40, that sort of an area. So I think that's worth mentioning. It is a very small sample size, but hitting his free throws down the stretch here at an elevated rate is something we have to look forward to for him getting back to that level from where he was in the EuroLeague. The Mavericks do play again on Wednesday, so there's one more game. I do think that Doncic will miss that one. He's been having issues with thigh and knee issues. He missed the 2 previous games prior to this one. He played 1 and played 32 minutes and then missed the 2 prior previous to that as well. So out of the last 6 games, he's played 2 games. I get the feeling he played this one at home for Dirk's final home game, and the next game on the road, we won't actually see him play in that game. So I look, that might be just speculation from, and it is just speculation from me, but I wouldn't be dropping him because that's not confirmed at this point. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see that is actually the case with Doncic. And now, as I'm recording, there's a tweet that's just come out from Chris Haynes of Yahoo saying Magic Johnson was recently granted permission to fire Luke Walton. Interesting. So Jeannie Buss had told him that he was granted permission to fire Walton. So you'd have to think that even if Magic is gone, that Walton's status is in a little bit of doubt there in LA. That's the news that just has come in about 30 seconds into me recording this. 30 seconds ago during me recording this. The dart of the night, Will Barton. He has racked up an absolute plethora of these awards this season. 0 points in 21 minutes as the Nuggets fell to the Jazz. 2 rebounds and 1 assist, 0 of 3 from the field. You know that I don't think he's that good. You know that I think that it was a poor contract that he got signed to. I didn't think that he fit well in the starting lineup, but I do have to mention that the hip injury that he suffered is a big part of why he has fallen off so much this season. He can just look to his teammate Isaiah Thomas, and when you have a significant hip injury, it screws you, and Thomas is screwed, and I worry that maybe Barton is screwed as well. He was the 53rd ranked player last season in 33 minutes, 6 fewer minutes this year, 197th. He has been outside the top 200 over the last 3 months, which basically since he came back from the injury hasn't been a top 200. He only played 3 games to begin the season, but he's been bad. This is the worry I have with Will Barton, is fitting into this starting lineup. I didn't know what he'd be able to do. His efficiency dropped way off. His assist numbers dropped way off. No defensive stats. Not hitting threes at anywhere near the same level that he did the last 2 seasons either. A real issue here for Barton. I don't believe in him long term. I didn't believe in him this season. And I'm really worried about how he fits on this team. I don't think he should be starting. I think he is much better suited to coming off the bench and playing that role that he did last year and putting Torrey Craig or Juancho Hernan-Gomez into that starting lineup at the 3 there, or Michael Porter, whatever it is. I think Barton's dynasty arrow is pointing downward really strongly. I don't look at this as a, hey, buy low, he's struggling from the hip, because that is true. He is struggling from the hip, but I just look at this team and go, where does he fit? Where does he fit long term? And probably in a year's time, 2 years' time, he's a 20, 21-minute role player as Malik Beasley, Monty Morris, hopefully Michael Porter, Juancho all step over him pretty comfortably, and that's going to put a real dent in his overall fantasy value. So just a shit night to round out the season to round out the relatively fantasy season. The Nuggets do have one more game left, and he's going to have to bounce back in that one. The plus-minus go to the day. Javon Carter, plus 106, had the best net rating, while David Nwaba, negative 135.9, was poor for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's get into these games now, talk about them across the NBA, see what sort of information we can get. We're not going to focus too much on the teams whose seasons are done here either, but the first game we look at has two teams that do play again on Wednesday. That's the Memphis Grizzlies and the Detroit Pistons. The Grizzlies, of course, they are not looking at any sort of playoff seeding, of course. They want to win games to try and push themselves to a better spot to give up their pick to the Celtics. So that dream appears to be dead at this point. Tyler Zeller made the start over Ivan Rabb, and you look at it and he only played 19 minutes, but that's because he fouled out. I would expect big minutes from Zeller in Wednesday's game. He had 13 and 6 with 2 blocks. I think he's worthy of at least a stream consideration. Caboclo's worth having 15 points, 2 blocks and 2 triples. Justin Holiday for his defensive stuff, a steal and 2 blocks with 2 threes, while Delon Wright didn't get a third straight triple-double, but had 15 and 9 and remains a must-roster guy. While Rab played 29 minutes, but I'd have to think that those extra minutes were because of the Zeller foul trouble. As for the chucker, Tyler Dorsey, 12 points, 12 shots. This guy is not a good NBA player. He's not a rotation caliber NBA player, I don't believe. I think he was going to start on Wednesday. He's going to have an opportunity to put up points, but that's really about it. For the Pistons, as I mentioned, they have to win to keep themselves into the playoff mix. Now they take on the New York Knicks on Wednesday, so that's going to help them out in getting the win there. If they win, they are in the playoffs. They can get up to the 7th seed, although that is unlikely. That would require Orlando losing to Charlotte, and that would push them into the 7th slot. Otherwise, if they win, they get the 8th seed. So they are going to be having to push pretty hard. Now, Blake Griffin is not healthy at all. 18 minutes for Blake. Dwayne Casey said, no, he was available, he was healthy, and then didn't play him the final 20 minutes of the game. So, obviously, Casey, as usual, talking out of his ass. Griffin is not healthy, and he didn't even take a single shot attempt in the first quarter, Blakey. 5 points with the 1-1 in his 18 minutes. So, I'd say his status is really in doubt because they need him, but if he can't go, and if he plays like today, then he's a real hindrance. The Duck, Luke Kennard, got hot late, 15 points with 5 triples, really just a stream guy. While for the second consecutive game, Ish Smith played more minutes than Reggie Jackson, 22 points for Ish with 4 assists. He can be an interesting, at least, assist stream for Wednesday, while Langston Galloway continues to play way too many minutes, 26 minutes for Langston with 7 points. If Griffo's out, Thon McCare, who put up an 8 trillion line today, he would be a blocks and threes type of streamer for that game tomorrow. The next game that we take a look at, we've got the Charlotte Hornets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. A massive blowout win for the Hornets, 124-97. Now the Hornets, they need to take care of business against the Magic tomorrow, and then they need the Knicks to lose, and if they do, they will slide into the 8th seed. An improbable run really here from the Hornets to even get in this position. Jeremy Lamb had 23 points in 28 minutes with 5 assists and 3 steals on 69% shooting.
Giggity!
Really good from him. He's been pretty solid. He put together a little bit of a run here after struggling for a stretch of time, but nice from him. Miles Bridges, really good, 18, 7, and 4 with 3 blocks, putting together, again, a real nice end of the season, probably is a 12-team league guy, while Dwayne Bacon doing his best Tyler Dorsey impression. He scores, he does nothing else, but that still can be useful because at least he's got more of a chance of doing it efficiently. Nick Batum started once again for Marvin Williams. I doubt that Marvin plays on Wednesday. Batum is okay on the court, but he's not producing any value, so not really any sort of 12-team league guy. Well, Bismack Biyombo's minutes are up at the moment, 5 points in 22, and Frank the Tank, 14, 5, and 4 for Kaminsky. He is worth a look, especially in those 14-team leagues. Now, for the Cavs, their season is done, but a quick reflection on them. Larry Nance, 10, 12, and 6. he is really good. Colin Sexton actually had 10 assists, so shout out to him for doing that and doing it efficiently as well. 47% shooting for his 18 points. We just never see him get assists. Of course, he had 0 steals and 1 rebound, so you get it from one area, it gets taken away in others, and I have my concerns about him long term, but that was good to at least see that from him. And the Cavs, their season can be put to bed. The next game that we take a look at is the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards. Both of these teams are done for the season. There's almost nothing to talk about here from the Celtics side of things. PJ Dozier played 37 minutes. That's how crazy this game was. The Rock DJ, Robbie Williams, blocked 3 shots. Jaylen Brown, only 18 minutes as they rested him in-game, and everyone else sat out. Irving and Horford and Hayward and Tatum and Marcus Smart, all those guys sat out. So very, very little to pay any attention to there with this, even for the playoffs. For the Wizards, Brad Beal started, played the first 12 minutes of the game, ended up with just 17 minutes, didn't return in the second half. He had to get a certain amount of points and boards and assists to make sure he averaged 25, 5, and 5 for the season, and once he did that, he just didn't return. So good for him to get those sort of numbers, the first in Wizards history. He's been fantastic. Tommy Bryant, only 17 minutes as Scott Brooks pulled the plug on that and gave 25 minutes to Jan Mihinmi, 31 minutes to Sam Decker, and then Troy Brown hurt his hamstring. So an inauspicious way to end the season for a couple of guys who'd really carried fantasy teams down the stretch. The next game up was the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. A blowout win for the Heat, 122-99. The Sixers can't go anywhere in the standings. They're locked into the 3 seed. The Heat are eliminated from the playoffs as well. We'll talk Sixers quickly here, but I don't imagine that Embiid, Toby Harris, General Soreness, Jim Butler, Ben Simmons, or JJ Redick play on Wednesday. There's absolutely no reason for them to play in that game, so that's going to give some value to guys. And one guy we did see step up here was Johnny Simmons, 26 minutes, 14 points, 8 assists and 3 steals. He is an interesting stream option for Wednesday. If the Sixers go with the common sense idea of resting all these players for Wednesday, DRC Zaire Smith made his first NBA start, 11 points in 30 minutes, 2 assists, didn't have any defensive numbers. He looked okay out there. I think he is going to be a good player, more just a deeper league guy at this point. Well, TJ McConnell can be a good steals streamer. Shake Milton, I think we'll see some big minutes from him on Wednesday. Well, Greg Monroe.
As Greg runs in, we realise this could get dangerous.
Played some power forward, had big usage, had 18 and 5. Could be a sneaky ad if you're looking in that desperate stakes, but I'd wait to hear that Toby and Joel happen to be sidelined, which there's absolutely zero reason for them to play. Now, as for the Heat, this was Dwyane Wade's final game in Miami. He started, he played 35 minutes, and predictably he went off. 30 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Now, he is going to play in the season finale in Brooklyn. How many minutes remains to be seen, but he still can be a useful guy to have a look at. But this team, they are done for the playoffs, so you'd imagine that some guys like Goran Dragic, whose minutes were high here, they might be reduced. Dion Waiters moved to the bench, only played 17 minutes. I think his minutes will be back up on Wednesday, but they could be really throwing this lineup all over the place. I think big minutes for Udonis Haslem could come. I think you'll see Duncan Robinson play a little bit more. Yanti Maten play some extra minutes, a guy who's been carving up the G League. There's real concern with how this rotation gets managed for Wednesday for this Heat team, with them being out of the playoffs. But the one thing we know is that both Haslam and Wade will play. It is a back-to-back. They don't need to rest for anything. They've got the rest of their lives to rest after this game, so they will both play in this game. Just how much they play, along with Justice Winslow or Bam Adebayo, who only played 23 minutes each in this game, remains to be seen. So there is some concern there. Derek Jones could be an interesting defensive streamer. He played 30 minutes here. I think getting another 30 out of him is a realistic possibility on Wednesday, given the way the Heat's roster looks. The next game we look at is the Raptors and the Timberwolves. The Raptors' regular season is over. I'm really shocked that Kawhi Leonard actually played here, but he only played 24 minutes. Same with Pascal Siakam, 18 minutes. Dan Green, 24. We had Marc Gasol only playing 23 minutes, while Serge Ibaka and Kyle Lowry all rested. Really, they just took care of business with a 120-100 win over the Timberwolves. Now, for the Timberwolves, they do have one more game left, and surprisingly, Karl Anthony Towns was out of this game with knee soreness. He hasn't been ruled out of Wednesday's game, but you've got to be really focused on adding Gorgie Dieng. 16, 7, and 5 with a 1-1. This guy can still play. He can still produce, and Taj Gibson's not going to play Wednesday, so Gorgie Dieng is an option for you to go and have a look at. Tyus Jones keeps delivering 11 points with 10 assists. He's a must-roster guy. I think we'll get big minutes out of Keita Bates-Diop, who had a 3, a steal, and 2 blocks with 7 points in 24 minutes, while Dario Saric had 15 and 9. We also got 12 minutes of Mitch Creek and 19 minutes of CJ Williams, if that gives you an understanding of what the rotation was doing. Andy Wiggins' minutes were well down. The reports are that the Timberwolves are going to be extending Ryan Saunders as a head coach, so that's a positive for him. Josh Okogie's minutes were down due to foul trouble. He's still an interesting steal streamer, but I would be pretty surprised if Towns plays on Wednesday. I think Wiggins' minutes will come down, and you'll get more of that Okogie, Bates Diop, especially Tyus Jones and Gorky Jang having some pretty interesting level of value for this team. The Golden State Warriors beat the Pelicans 112-103. After yesterday when Kevin Durant was ruled out and then he was ruled in, he was ruled out again this morning and then ruled in along with Klay Thompson, and then in the end they both ended up sitting, so it was just all over the place. So what I would expect for this Warriors team is that Steph Curry hurt his foot in this game. He's not playing on Wednesday. I think DeMarcus Cousins is going to be out. There's no doubt about that. I think Draymond Green and Sean Livingston will all sit out on Wednesday. We saw some big performances from some players that we haven't seen do it at all. Jacob Evans made his first NBA start and had 11-5 with 3 steals and 2 blocks. That's fantastic because he's looked shit all season. He had a pretty good statistical profile coming out of Cincinnati, but he's been terrible. Now, when Klay and KD return for Wednesday, which I believe they will, that's going to limit how many minutes Evans and Damo Lee, who played 27 minutes and scored 20 points, they're not going to get those big minutes. With Steph and Draymond and Boogie being the guys to rest, you're going to see Quinn Cook step up. You're going to see Eunice Jerebko step up. You're going to see Kevon Looney, Jordan Bell, Andy Bogut. They're going to be the guys to take on that extra role. So I wouldn't be looking at Evans and Lee and going, well, they're going to have that extra opportunity to do that. They'll play some minutes, but they probably won't play as many with Curry, Draymond, and Cousins, the likely guys to sit out. But it was an encouraging sign to see Jacob Evans do this. As for Quinn Cook, he's been really good for points lately, 19 points in 24 minutes. On just 12 shot attempts, a super efficient scorer, and he's going to have a massive opportunity, I believe, on Wednesday. Well, no, I believe Curry's out. He's going to have a massive opportunity. Jordan Bell also contributed across the box score, 10, 6, and 4, and he has an extra opportunity with Cousins and Draymond both likely out. You could get a start out of him. It might be Eunice Jerebko that they start at power forward, but Bell is going to have an opportunity. Well, Alfonso McKinney, it doesn't really matter if he starts or not. He's just still a deeper league guy. Now, for the Pelicans, Jahlil Okafor really turned it on. He played well. Played shit, and then in the last few games turned it on again. 30-7 with 2 steals. Christian Wood 26-12. While the Pelicans continue to really just get the red hot poker and stick it up our ass by continually listing Anthony Davis as probable. Surely no one fell for it. I don't know why they did it, but Davis didn't play. Big surprise there. Ian Clarke, he had 20 points in 38 minutes. Took him 22 shots. He is not a starting caliber NBA player. Christian Wood is the real interesting guy here for dynasty purposes on this team, with Davis almost assuredly gone. But who comes back in his spot? Will they go into next season starting Christian Wood? Will they bring back Julius Randle? There's still a lot of unknown questions for this Pelicans team. The next game, just absolute shit show. The Chicago Bulls and the New York Knicks. The Knicks and Bulls both play tomorrow, so we've all got that to look forward to. For the Knicks, the Unicornetto. That's not how I normally say his name, but there we go. 39 minutes for Luke Cornett. Again, the Fizdale bullshit with this guy has been infuriating. 12-13 with 2 threes and 6 blocks. I don't have to. You just go look at his game log to understand what I'm talking about. Well, Mitchie Robinson, 8-17 with 3 blocks. Cornet is a must-add player for Wednesday. Well, Damo Dotson played 41 minutes. Mario Hezonja was a late scratch, so Dennis Smith moved into the starting lineup and played 35 minutes. So obviously the low minutes for Smith were nothing to do with his back injury. It was Fizdale deciding, now's a good time to give Hezonja, who's not going to be on this team next season and is not a point guard, all the point guard minutes. When we've just traded for a guy, the crown jewel of the Kristaps Porzingis trade, we'll keep him in a 20-minute bench role because Fizdale is a numbnuts. Again, was nothing to do with his back because he played 35 minutes. He should have been starting and playing these minutes the whole time. 25 points with 5 assists for Smitty in this game. Yeah, worth a look. We don't know if Hezonja's illness is going to carry over into Wednesday, but Smith needs to be playing these minutes, and you should be looking to add him. The Fort, Kevin Knox, horrendous efficiency as usual, but 17-10 with 4 triples. Looks okay in the counting stats department. Still don't have many high hopes for him. For the Bulls, they changed things up. They squeezed Walt Lemon to the bench. Just 18 minutes for Lemon, 9-4-2. He'd been playing well. I don't know what they're going to do for Wednesday, but he's a clear drop if he's a bench guy. While Archer Jacquino had 14-6. I think he's still more of a 16-teamer. While Big Shaq Harrison.
Big Shaq.
13-7. He also added in...
2 + 2 is 4. -1, that's 3. Quick maths.
Yes, 3 assists with a steal and 2 blocks for Big Shaq. while Jakar Sampson, 11 and 8, not his usual form where he was literally after his first 2 games the 12th ranked player in fantasy. He just could not shoot in this game, but he is a worthy 12-team league guy. Saldo and Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot, the starting 3 and the 4, they very much did nothing and are really just deeper league guys. And I wouldn't be shocked to see Robin Lopez really have his minutes pushed down. On Wednesday, he played 31 in this game on a back-to-back. Well, obviously the first game of a back-to-back. The Suns and the Mavericks. The Suns don't play again, but it does behoove me to mention that Dragan Bender was good again. 12, 11, and 6 with a 1-1. McCall Bridges added those 3 steals. D'Anthony Melton had 3 steals. And the golf ball, Ray Spalding. I think I'm going to give him an honorary Richie Beno here.
2 for 2.
2 points, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. That's almost the real Richie Beno, the 4 twos. The 2 for 2. The golf ball, again, looked like he had some pretty good translation numbers coming out of Louisville. Had an opportunity a bit this season, but didn't really do that much earlier in the year. I'm not sure where he sort of fits. Well, Josh Jackson, he's just not good. 17 points on 20 shots. Really, really struggled. For the Mavs, who do play again Wednesday, Dirk played 33 minutes, 30 and 8 with 5 triples and a block. Took 31 shots. Will he do that again on the road in San Antonio? That remains to be seen. But probably still not. We're still not really looking to stream him in outside of deepers. Well, Devin Harris made a start over Jalen Brunson. I'd imagine that was because of Dirk's final home game, and Brunson will go back and start on Wednesday, and Harris might not even play in that game. Finney Smith had 15 and 10. He's come on a little bit of late. I don't trust it. While Dwight Powell had 11 and 11 with 3 blocks, but still the minutes are a little bit down. Interestingly, Salah Mejri did not play at all after dominating the other day. So that was a strange one to see that. And the other thing that we've seen often is when Doncic plays, Trey Burke's production goes way down. 6 points for Trey in the 12 minutes. If Doncic is out on Wednesday, which I think is a possibility, you're going to see some value really slide into Trey Burke's atmosphere. The Nuggets and the Jazz, really disappointing from the Nuggets here. Just really shit from a lot of guys. Nikola Jokic was not pretty good. 16 minutes, fouled out, 2, 5, and 2 with a steal and a block. Barton was dreadful. 22 minutes for Paul Millsap, 22 minutes for Gaz Harris. Jamal Murray, the only real starter who played well, 22 points. But Monty Morris and Malik Beasley really carried them to even get this close. 22 and 25 for Morris and Beasley, respectively. I don't know what the Nuggets are going to do, but with Houston's loss to OKC, the Nuggets win, they get the 2 seed, and I think they'll be very, very motivated to do that. Otherwise, I thought they would have rested a whole bunch of guys on this back-to-back and settled into that 3 seed when we thought Houston was going to beat OKC, but now I think we get big minutes from all these guys, Barton and Harris and Millsap, Jokic, Murray, they're all going to play big minutes on Wednesday. Where earlier in the day, I didn't necessarily think that was going to be the case. So your stream value of guys like Beasley and Morris and even Mason Plumlee, who played 34 minutes, I think that's going to be relatively reduced. For the Jazz, the Donovan Mitchell.
He's Don. He's good.
46 points with 5 triples, 7 rebounds, 4 assists and 2 steals. Burn this into your brain. When he plays without a point guard, his value goes up. Look at those free throw attempts. 13 of 16 from the free throw line. There are games when he was playing with Rubio when he's getting 1 free throw attempt, 2 free throw attempts. We need him to be a 7, 8 free throw attempt guy to be a top 20 player, and that's going to depend so much on what the Jazz do in the season. Jingle and Joe had 10, 6, and 13, Rudy Gobert, that's the one, 20 and 10 with 2 blocks. Favors had 16 and 7. Royce O'Neal played 37 minutes, but the Jazz can't go anywhere. They are the 5 seed. That's it. They cannot move from that 5 seed spot. So, Kyle Korver missed this game. Ravishing Rick Rubio missed this game. Hull Neto missed this game. And I think we're going to have Don Mitchell, Jingle Joe, Rudy Gobert, Derek Favors, and Jay Crowder all sit out. I think they're all going to be out for Wednesday's game. There's no reason for any of these guys to play. So you're looking at Royce O'Neal as a stream. George Niang, the real interesting one there, I believe. Grayson Allen as an ad. Tabo Cephalosha as a steal streamer. Naz Long is a point guard assist steal type of a guy. He will be someone who you can look at. Tyler Kavanagh, remember him? He played for the Hawks last season and had some moments. He could be a name to watch as a big man who can stroke in some threes. So Epe Udo for some blocks. There is no reason for the Jazz to play any of these guys tomorrow. They can't go anywhere. They are locked into the 5 seed. It doesn't matter what happens with them or with the Clippers. They are going to be in the 5 seed, taking on most likely the Portland Trailblazers, maybe the Rockets in that first round, but that's out of their control who they face in that situation. So there is no reason for these guys on a back-to-back to play these minutes here. So they do really just have to stick in that spot and be happy about it. And that's realistically all they can do. They're in the 5, so I think all of those guys are pretty much done, and they won't play. But that's speculation on my part at this stage. The Rockets and the Thunder. Huge win from the Thunder. Paul George with the game-winning 3, 112-111. The Rockets season is done. Harden was great as usual. Chris Paul, Capella put up pretty solid lines. Gerald Green had a bit of a cameo, but we don't need to talk about too much the Rockets. Eric Gordon was shit, which is done quite a few times this season. Their season's done. Let's talk about the Thunder, who do have a game on Wednesday. Westbrook 29, 12, and 10. Paul George 27, 9, and 3 with four steals. Terry Ferguson played well, but minutes still down, 16 points. The Thunder are going to be going all in on Wednesday to win, because if they win, they get the 6th seed. So that is what they want to do. That they want that 6th seed. They get the win, they get the 6th seed. Now they can still lose and end up getting the 6th seed depending on results from the other games, but if they win, they guarantee themselves that position there. So they're going to want to go balls out to do that, to get the 6th seed, to take on what will look like the Houston Rockets in that matchup. But again, that might even be the Portland Trailblazers, depending how some other things happen there for the Thunder. But they'd fancy themselves after beating the Rockets today, the Thunder. It's going to be big minutes for all those guys. So if for some reason Jeremy Grant's on your waiver wire, Dennis Schroeder, you would imagine that relatively big minutes are going to be coming for those guys. They're taking on the Bucks, who are going to be without Giannis Antetokounmpo and Brook Lopez as well. So there is some opportunity for those guys to put up some numbers. So that is worth paying attention to. The last game of the night was the Portland Trailblazers beating the Lakers. The Lakers coughing up a lead late. Mo Harkless hitting the game-winning 3, 104-101. Flaming Mo played 34 minutes, had 26 and 8 with 4 blocks. Great from him. Lillard 24 and 8 with 3 steals. McCollum 11 points, played 29 minutes. The efficiency's still not there. I think I don't think he plays on Wednesday, so I think he's a drop. The Chief Al-Farouq Aminu is a pretty clear drop. Rocket Rodney Hood missed all 6 of his shots because he's terrible. And Enes Kanter had 22 and 16, a massive performance from Kanter. Now, in terms of what the Blazers do, I don't know exactly how they're going to approach this. They are locked in as a home court advantage team for the first round of the playoffs. We know that at this point. They play the Kings on Wednesday. If they win... if they win against the Kings and Denver beats the Timberwolves, they move into the 3 seed. All right, so they can get that 3 seed spot. That keeps them out of the Golden State Warriors' second round bracket, assuming they beat the Thunder, who we assume they're going to win against the Bucks with the Bucks resting guys. They get themselves out of the Warriors bracket if they win that. But they might be just as content to stay in the 4 seed, take on the Utah Jazz in the first round, and give their guys rest. Because if they lose that game, then they're in the 4 seed. There's no other way for them to be in any other situation than to be in that 4 seed. So their situation's a little bit up in the air. Win and Denver wins and you get in the 3 seed. Win and if they win and Denver loses, well, they stay in the 4 seed, so that hurts them a little bit there. So there's a big discussion there. So you could be seeing a situation where Anthony Simons and Jake Layman and Skal Labissiere and Zach Collins are playing huge minutes, or it could be just business as usual for this Portland team. So there's a lot to really take into consideration in terms of where stream value might come from with this Portland team. For the Lakers, 46 minutes for Jamario Jones. 11 and 15 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Literally, people listening to this podcast would not have heard of this bloke, majority of you, a week ago, and here he is playing these many minutes. Caruso was good again, 12, 7, and 13. KCP really trying to swindle people into a big contract next season. 32, 5, and 8. Took him 31 shots to get there. Flaming Mo Wagner, he's not ready for the NBA at all. While Mike Muscala also trying to swindle people into a contract for next season after he was shit all season. Put together 2 big games at the end of the year, which we must remember, don't read too much into it when we're in these scenarios where everyone's hurt and shots have got to come because people are going to score. And we saw that with Muscala and Johnny Williams even in this one for the Lakers as well. All right, so that's all the action from Tuesday. let's have a look at what potentially could be happening on Wednesday. There's a lot of different things to pay attention to, which games are meaningless, who's going to be sitting guys, all that sort of stuff. And we're going to try and get to the bottom of all of that and work it out. Now, the first game is the Indiana Pacers and the Atlanta Hawks. The Pacers can't go anywhere. They are locked into that 5 seed to take on the Boston Celtics in the first round. Miles Turner hurt his ankle. No reason for him to play at all in this game. You look at guys like Darren Collison, Wes Matthews. All of these guys could very, very easily sit out Bojan Bogdanovic. With Atlanta, you're going to have Trae Young and John Collins coming back, so there's going to be some value there. But look for Edmund Sumner, Davon Reed, TJ Leaf in Indiana, Kyle O'Quinn, Domantas Sabonis to have some value in that one. The Warriors and the Grizzlies, both these teams on a back-to-back. We know the Warriors are going to be resting guys. Quinn Cook's the one you want to look at. No way that Mike Conley plays, Joakim Noah. You're going to have more of the Grizzlies lineup, I think, is fairly secure. I talked about them already. Tyler Zeller with an opportunity there. Bruno Caboclo, Tyler Dorsey, Delon Wright. All these guys have value. Whereas for the Warriors, looking at Urepko, you're looking at Bell, you're looking at Quinn Cook quite a bit as well. Even Andy Bogut, if you're looking for some defensive numbers, that's how I think things will pan out there. Now, the next game does have some impact. It's Miami at Brooklyn. Now, the Heat are eliminated from the playoffs, but Brooklyn aren't. They are in the playoffs, but if they win, if the Brooklyn Nets beat Miami, then they get themselves locked in as the 6th seed. And I think that's something that they would really want to do. I think they'd fancy themselves taking on the Sixers in the first round versus the Bucks or the Raptors. They can't drop down, sorry, not the Bucks, because they can't drop down to 8. They can only drop down to 7. And that happens with a loss if they lose this to Miami and nearly any other matchup goes. Like if the Knicks win, if the Knicks beat the Pistons, then they can stay in 6, which seems an unlikely scenario. So they need if they win, they keep the 6th seed. If they lose, they get the 7th seed. So I think that the Nets are going to be putting these guys out for the majority of their playing time. Now, how much the Heat care remains to be seen. So it might be an in-game rest thing for the Nets, where these guys play their 20 up heading into the fourth quarter, and D'Angelo and Spencer and Smoke and Joe Harris, who's dealing with a foot injury, and Jarrett Allen all sit that final quarter. Damari Carroll already out for them as well. So that is that is a definite concern with this Nets team. We just don't know how that's going to pan out. But I think when we're looking at them, we do have to pay attention, and we do have to consider that they want to win this one to get that 6th seed, because they will fancy themselves as a better matchup against the Sixers versus the Toronto Raptors, which is who they would face if they did happen to lose that one. The Thunder and the Bucks, this is one I talked about already. The Bucks are without Brookie Lopez, who, if he didn't rest this last game, would have played all 82 games. Remember injury-prone Brook Lopez? Yeah, 82 games for him. Giannis is out. Tony Snell is out. Pat Connaughton is questionable. Nikola Mirotic is out. So a Bucks team that, again, they've got nothing to play for. So imagine fewer minutes for Eric Bledsoe, for Chris Middleton as well. George Hill might be reduced. We might get 40 minutes of Bonzi Colson, 35 minutes of DJ Wilson, who's an excellent stream tomorrow, Deej, I reckon. With both Giannis and Brook out, that front court is very, very ripe. So him and Ersan Ilyasova, a lot of minutes could be coming their way. Really good stream, guys. And for the Thunder, they need this win to get that 6th seed, which they want to do, so their minutes are going to be fairly consistent. Dallas and the Spurs, of course, this is Dirk's last game. He is going to play in this one. The status of other guys like Devin Harris and Luka Doncic remains to be seen. If Doncic is out, Trey Burke gets that bump. But on the Spurs side of things, they can still have an influence on where their seeding goes, taking on the Mavericks. Now, if they win, they can finish either 7th or 6th, depending on how other results go. If they lose, then they put themselves in danger of facing the Golden State Warriors. So they want to win. They don't want to play the Warriors in the first round. They would much rather take on the Nuggets or the Rockets in that 2-7 matchup, or maybe the Blazers in a 3-6 matchup. If they win, they can get to that. They can get to that 6th seed. If Milwaukee beats OKC, then they get into the 6th seed. If they win and OKC wins, and they sit in the 7th seed, and then if they lose and OKC wins and the Clippers win, then they move into the 8th seed. So there's still some motivation for the Spurs, but they want to win. They don't want to be in any sort of risk of relying upon somebody else to put them into that 8th seed. They want the 6 or they want the 7. Ideally, they would want the 6th. The 6th, well, I guess that depends on what Denver does, because maybe they want to avoid Houston, they want to get Denver. Who knows what they want to do in that scenario? But they don't want 8. That's pretty clear. They don't want that 8th seed. The old San Antonio Spurs. for them. So injury-wise, we're okay there. The Chicago Bulls and the Philadelphia 76ers. The Bulls, Otto Porter, Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, these guys aren't going to play. It'd be more of the same from the Bulls today. For the Sixers, no reason for Simmons or Butler or Harris or Embiid or Redick, any of those guys to play. So look for Zaire Smith, look for TJ McConnell, Johnny Simmons. Jonah Bolden left today's game injured as well, so he might not play. Boban Marjanovic, Prison Mike had a back issue today. He didn't play. So you're going to have these bottom of the roster guys. Haywood Hightower, I think that's his name. Shake Milton might get a start in this game. I don't see any of these Sixers guys playing, but stream value for Johnny Simmons, for Zaire, for Shake, you might be able to look at those guys and have some value. Orlando and Charlotte, a game that really has consequences. The Hornets need to win. They need to win, and the Pistons need to lose for them to get into the playoffs. The Magic, while they are locked into the playoffs, they're going to want to win as well, because it is going to change what they do in terms of their seeding. They can move all the way up to the 6th seed if they win. If they lose, of course, they can't get to that area, but they could drop as low as 8 depending on how other results go. So if Charlotte beats Orlando but the Pistons win, which could be a likely scenario, then Orlando moves to the 8th seed and they take on the Bucks. So they want to win. Now, John Isaac is ruled out with a concussion, but Fournier and Augustin, Aaron Gordon, Vooch, they're all going to have to play pretty solid minutes because they want to win. They want to take that spot in the 6th seed or worst case in the 7th seed. For them to get to the 6th seed, they need to win, obviously. They need Brooklyn to lose to get into that area as well. And then it doesn't really matter what happens with Detroit. Yeah, Detroit and New York, it's inconsequential, but they need the Heat to win, and they need to win, and then they move into that 6th seed. So there is motivation for them to put up numbers. As for the Hornets, they just need to win. So the minutes are going to be all there for Kemba Walker, for Jeremy Lamb, for Bridges and Bacon, and the guys who have got them there and put them on this win streak, they're going to be playing those minutes. The next game is the Detroit Pistons and the New York Knicks. The Knicks, we know there's no motivation for them to do anything, but given how few bodies they have, Moutier won't be playing. Hazonia is the only real up-in-the-air guy. I'd be adding Dennis Smith there. Dotson, Cornette's a must-add player. Mitchie Robinson, unless Fizdale comes out and really goes the old... I don't even know what I was going to say, but he's going to go something pretty hard on us. There is a risk of that, no doubt about it. For the Pistons, they need to go hard. The Griffin one's the real troublesome one. If he is out, what happens there? But Ish Smith's an interesting add. Thon McCare, if you're looking for some blocks, could be in for a larger role, but it's going to be pretty much business as usual. A points streamer flyer, the Duck Luke Kennard, and the Duke Wayne Ellington. They're the two guys that we want to look at there. The Sacramento Kings and the Portland Trailblazers, of course, the Kings are out, and the Blazers are locked into a top 4 spot. If they win in this one, though, they can push themselves up into a 3 seed. It requires Denver to beat Minnesota, which again is a likely outcome. So if they win and Denver wins, they move into the 3 seed, and then the likely matchup there is the Thunder. So do they want the Thunder? Do they want the Jazz? There is a lot of up and downs there, as I mentioned before. That we could be getting Big Skull Labissiere or Anthony Simons or Gary Trent Jr. type minutes. That we could be in that sort of a scenario, and Jake Layman going sick for 40 minutes. So there is a few different scenarios there for Portland. For Sacramento, Costa Koufos is out. We know Harry Giles is out. I think it'll just be more of the same. No, they're not going to be resting their guys, I don't believe. So you're going to have Foxy and Hildy and Bogdanovic and Bags. They're going to be playing their regular load of minutes, which in this world of craziness in the NBA is a relief. The next game, the Jazz and the Clippers. Now, the Jazz have no reason to play anybody in this game. So, as I said, Crowder, Mitchell, Ingles, Favors, Rubio, Neto, Korver. I don't think any of these guys play in this game. Opening it up for Tone Bradley, Grayson Allen, Naz Long, Tyler Kavanagh, Tabo Cephalosha, George Niang in particular. A bunch of value there with those guys. And what that means then for the Clippers, who are still obviously battling for seeding there, it's going to give them an easier opportunity. Now, they can get up as high as the 7th seed, which puts them out of the Warriors, which is exactly what they would want to do. They don't want to play the Warriors in that first round. So for them to get into that 7th seed, they need to beat the Jazz, and I think that's been made easier by the Portland result today. That helps them because the Jazz won't be trying as hard. They need the Bucks. They need the Bucks to beat the Thunder, and then they can move into the 7th seed. Or they need the Mavericks to beat the Spurs and then they can move into the 7th seed. So they're the two scenarios or if both of those things happen, they move into the 7 seed. So they need to win, and they need one of the other two results, which the Dallas one's probably not going to happen, and the OKC Milwaukee one, a little bit doubtful given the Bucks situation, but there is a chance they can get to the 7 seed. So the minutes should be relatively stable for Paddy Beverly, Danilo Gallinari, who missed out on last game resting. They need to put those minutes back up because they would want to get out of the Golden State Warriors bracket in that first round and take on the Nuggets or the Rockets, preferably, versus the Warriors in that first round of the playoffs. So that is their situation. And in the last game of the night, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets, I don't think Towns plays, so Jeng is your option. I think Bates Diop gets bigger run. I think Okogie will play more than he did today, so there's value in him. Tyus Jones has got that value. Maybe look at CJ Williams. You're not going to have Taj play. Luol Deng's not going to play, most likely as well, for this team. So there's a bunch of different things. There's a whole range of things that could happen for the Minnesota team, but Denver is the real interesting one. They need to win. If Denver wins against Minnesota, they get the 2 seed. It's a simple equation for them. So depending on what happened with that Houston game, it could have been a case of Denver resting all these guys. Now, a lot of their players' minutes have been down over the last week, but I am pretty confident they will want that 2 seed. Rather than get the 3 seed. That gives them an potentially easier first round matchup. They don't have to take on the Thunder. They can take on whether it's the Spurs or the Clippers, which I think they'd fancy themselves a little bit more against. So they want to win. So the minutes should be coming for Murray and Jokic and Millsap and Harris, and all those guys should be getting back to their regular level of minutes after playing very few minutes in Tuesday's games. They need this win to lock themselves into the 2 seed and potentially avoiding the Warriors until the conference finals, which would be perfect for them to get themselves back on track, win a couple of rounds, which is what they're looking for, and get into that conference final. So they are wanting to go balls out, I believe, in this one. And I can't believe I just spoke for 50 minutes for the second last day of the NBA season. That is going to do it for today's podcast. It's also going to do it for the regular daily recap podcast that we do. There's going to be podcasts coming. I'm not going to have a show tomorrow, but most likely I'll be back for Friday doing a playoff predictions award winner type show. So that'll be coming there. And then we're going to be doing some season in review stuff, a whole bunch of other stuff that I've got planned, looking back at projections, what we got right, what we got wrong, why we got it right, why we got it wrong, bringing some guests on, all that sort of stuff. But today is the last episode of the regular recap podcasts. Thanks for being with me all season. Don't disappear. Keep downloading the podcast even if you don't listen. Keep viewing it on YouTube even if you don't watch it. Just play it. Give me the plays. Let it play through while you're going to sleep just to get those numbers up. Follow me on Twitter at redrock_bball. Subscribe to this podcast on the Himalaya podcast app, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and on Spotify. And of course, check out Wise. Wise.com/lock to guarantee yourself the lowest price for the Wise camera. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Magic Johnson.